Go ahead.
There's a running back out of Cincinnati who's played for Oklahoma, meaningful playing time, also Wisconsin and Cincinnati. Three NIL deals. What's the positives? His name's Tawee Walker. What is the positives of a guy with that much experience going into this year's draft class from an NIL perspective versus in previous years?
Yeah, I don't know specifically from an NIL perspective. One thing we've talked a lot about is I always look at things from a positive lens. We have an opportunity to see how these guys react when they have some money in their hands and how they're going to respond. So that's one positive way to look at that whole situation. I think the one thing that I'll say, this is going on 10 years now that I've been in this role, we used to stop meetings when a guy had transferred. Why did he transfer? What went into that? That was a big, hold on, what's going on? There's guys who've transferred 4 times. And most of the time, it's a really reasonable history as to why exactly they did it. You can't blame them for doing it, but you do want to know that information. Is there value to it? I think time will tell because it's relatively new, but we do see it a lot more with a couple kids yesterday who had been at 4 different schools. So it's not uncommon, I'll tell you that. Yeah.
John, about an hour ago, Adam Schefter reported that Trent Williams expects to be released if you and his agent can't come to some financial agreement about his future. Is there any truth to that? Can you shedding light on what's going on?
Well, what I'll tell you is that, in recent weeks I've met with both Trent and with his agent, Vincent Taylor, and had really good, productive, and substantive meetings. And so here's what I know. Trent loves being a Niner. We love having Trent as a Niner. And it's up to us to figure that out and to thread that needle. There's some unique circumstances in that we all know what Trent is as a player, how great of a player he's been. He's going to be 38 years old, and so there's some things that go into that. But I think we're all on the same page and feel very positive about where that's going. Yeah. It's everything. I'm not going to get into specifics of it, but what I will say is we met with Vince just today, and I think we're on the right track. And I know this. He's been a tremendous asset to our organization. We love having him. My hope, and I've shared this with Trent, is that his name's up in there in the rafters with the greats that have played for the Niners, because he certainly fits that category.
Is there anything that overrides tape in the scouting process?
I think tape's most important. I will tell you that a lot of the things we track, in terms of successful draft choices over the years, there's obviously a requisite amount of ability. A lot of it goes to the person, the intangibles that they possess or don't possess in terms of them making it or not making it. And I think that's because, having done it myself for 15 years, the NFL is very hard. It's tough. It's not easy. You're going to be tested over and over and over. And so do you have that mental fortitude that when things get tough, because they will and they do, and that never goes away, do you have that mental toughness, that physical toughness to endure and get the most out of whatever your abilities are? I think that's really critical, but the tape is very critical.
Is it hard to identify that? Have you been burned on identifying that fortitude?
Of course, but I think we've also, some of our best picks, that's kind of, so I think one thing we try to do in these meetings, you're not just the ones you have questions with because they've been in trouble. Let's get the guy that is a stud human being in front of us so we can feel that, and we can feel the effect he might have. I think the best leaders, they make everyone around them better. And so if you can get a sense of that goes a long way to identifying the right type of people that you want in your building.
What's one area of your team you'd like to make a concerted effort to address this offseason? Obviously, you have a lot of
Yeah. Grant, I think you always you want to get better as a team. Now, one tangible thing, we've always prided ourselves on our defensive front and getting after people. And last year, if you just look at the numbers, now I don't think the numbers are always reflective. I felt like there were games where we put a lot of pressure on, but you got to put the quarterback down. And so that's something that we want to address and we will address.
Why did you hire Raheem?
Yeah, so Kyle makes those decisions. He obviously consults. But Raheem brings so much to the table. First of all, I go back to, I've known Raheem for a long time. At one Buck place, he used to sit behind me, and right behind me in the back of the defense, Mike Tomlin was our DB coach. Raheem was the assistant DB coach. So I've known Raheem for a long time, as had Kyle. After I left, Kyle came in as an assistant, and he and Raheem got to know each other. But it's not just that. I think you go into all of his experiences. Raheem has he's been in this league for a long time. He's done it at a high level. And I think he's got a lot of variety to the type of defense, schematically and in terms of what he's deployed. And we like that. And he's very familiar with the system we run. But he's also had some more experiences like what he did with the Rams that can add some variety to what we do. I think he's a very forward thinker. He's an energy giver. Any building Raheem's in, you feel that. And we're really excited about working. We lost a really good defensive coach in Robert Saleh with him. He took Gus Bradley, who had a great influence on our building. But to be able to replace that with someone like Raheem and some of the pieces we're bringing in, we're really excited about.
On the offensive side of the football, would you like to get faster, younger, more explosive players, see how the offense fares in this final 2 games?
Yeah, but wouldn't we all? I think everybody's looking for that. That's a really good combination. Seattle's a really good football team right now, as evidenced by what they did this season, but especially late in the season. But our division's really tough. We aren't shying away from that. It's tough in part because of who we are, but it's tough because it's a quality division. So we understand, but we tend to focus on ourselves, and we're trying to make ourselves better in all areas.
Are you still expecting to major any wide linebackers? Are you looking for defensive linemen like that from particular?
I think most teams, so much of these games played in the nickel front, and in the nickel front, wide nines are employed by most teams. So absolutely, there'll be some of that. There'll be some variety as well, but we were doing that with Robert as well.
Last year at this event, you signaled that you wanted to get younger. It wouldn't be a particularly aggressive free agency period. What can you say about how you
Yeah. That was true, and I think it remains true. I mean, all 11 picks are still with us, with our team, and a lot of them contributed in a big way. So we love last year's class and their contributions, and it did do that in infused youth. I think the part that maybe has been misconstrued is that we weren't aggressive in free agency. That may be correct. We did re-sign Brock Purdy, Fred Warner, George Kittle, and Colton McKivitz, and we actually set a franchise record in terms of the cash we spent. So I think we were aggressive. We just didn't go out and do it in free agency. The other part of that, our team was very good, and we saw a lot of really good players leave and go elsewhere. I'm looking at George Payton here, who got a couple of our players, really good ones. So that's always difficult. But we want to be targeted in free agency. I think that's always a good approach. But our lifebloods always will be the draft, and we want to be very proficient at that as well. We don't have 11 picks this year. We'll see with comp picks and all that where we end up. But you got to hit on that each and every year. Yeah, I loved Mike. He was a big part of us building it when we first got there. Very smart, very skilled, excited for him and his family and their opportunity down in Arizona. I think Arizona made a wise decision, and that will go to, I think don't sleep on Arizona. I do respect the work that Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon, for that matter, have done. I know last year didn't go how they wanted in terms of the wins and losses. I felt like they improved mightily in terms of their talent, and they've kind of gone through some processes there. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not long before they're a real good football team. So I'm pulling for Mikey, except when they play us. And he's a tremendous human being who was very instrumental in a lot of our success. And we've got really fond memories of working together with him.
You made a lot of trades over your time as GM. Is the lifeline of the life path of a trade, does that often trace back to this week, the combine? Do a lot of conversations start here in person?
Oh, I think that's accurate for sure. I thought you were talking like evaluations of players long before, and that sometimes is the case too. But absolutely, I think it's very rare, and there's a couple, 3 probably inflection points, usually down at Mobile. You get most GMs are down there, then at Combine, and then at league meetings, So usually at one of those places, a lot of those conversations. And this week, it's kind of everybody's in that mindset coming off the season. Now you're really looking forward. And yes, a lot of those conversations have commenced. And the inception of them was here, and some finish here. So, yeah.
Trent said yesterday that of the replay decisions they reviewed, that 4 of the 5 decisions that they wish they could have gotten back happened in the 1 o'clock window. Have you guys discussed that as a competition committee? Like, do you have any concern about the quality of replay when there's so many games going on the window?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And we have, first of all, man, the competition committee, that's work. I've been stuck in a meeting room for 3 days, but I do feel good. It feels like a very impactful opportunity to help guide our game, and so that's why I chose to do it. I lived in the broadcasting world for 9 years, and I know that when I was on the 7th team, I dealt with a lot less cameras and the type of angles to when I worked my way up to the 2nd team at Fox. So even within the 1 o'clock window, there's variation in terms of now the mother load is when you're doing Sunday night, Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico, and they've got they're basically doing a Super Bowl in terms of the amount of angles. I do think that's something we want to strive for as a league, and I think there's some uniformity you can get by requiring teams to have fixed cameras and things that could really, and I know all those things are being discussed, but that is a reality that the 1 o'clock games, there's multiple games going on at the same time. So the New York headquarters, they're not going to have all their attention on that game. And then within that, the element that I talked about just not having the amount of cameras and angles. And that's a reality and something that we have to figure out, because every game is important in our league, not just the primetime games.
When you see tragically what happened with Rondell Moore, how does it
Yeah.
make you as a person and as a GM who sees a roster? Does it make you say, dang, I wish we could reach out to Brandon Ayuk, or he would reach out to us to see if everything was okay?
Well, I think 2 very different situations. First of all, my condolences go out to Rondell and his family. Tragic situation. We've had a couple of them in our league this year, and your heart goes out to the families. And it makes you, communicate with everyone in your organization about our opportunity to affect these young men in a positive way and to help them through struggles. And, it's, I think I'll leave it at that. My heart goes out to Rondell. Had the occasion to meet him over the years, and our hearts go out.
How do you assess your receiver room? Is there a need in that room you see right now, or do you look at your current?
Yeah, so obviously you got like Jawan's a free agent, and we've been in good contact with Jawan. We'll see where that goes. We've got some young players that we're really we really need to come to the forefront. Jacob Cowing's a guy that we've had and we like for a couple of years. He hasn't been able to be on the field much because of his hamstring ailments. Ricky's a fantastic player. We got to find a way to keep him healthy. He had a tough injury early, and he kept dinging the same thing over and over and over, and it was a tough year for him. Ricky's going to be a fine player. Jordan Watkins has to take big steps, and then we've got opportunities to improve ourselves by either bringing back some of the players who have been with us or go finding new guys that fit who we want to be and what we want to be, both in free agency and in the draft.
John, going back to the competition committee, I know a couple days ago, Rich put out a second teams introducing a rules change proposal for the fans. So the question was, where does that stand right now based on the conversation?
Yeah.
The competition committee side?
That's all we talked about last year, and I will tell you, it felt like there was momentum going into league meetings that it would be overturned, and then it kind of flipped, and those things happen. And I think now we went through a year. Maybe people have gotten a little bit better at defending it. Maybe they're doing it less. People aren't wanting to put their quarterbacks in those type of situations. You're seeing more variety. They line up in the tush push. They run outside. So maybe it's kind of solving itself. But we'll see. I think you got to monitor those things over time to see the trends, and that's something we'll continue to do.
John, this is kind of a long history with the Kubiak family.
Yes.
Kubiak now a head coach. What have you seen just from him, growing up and doing this job that
Yeah. Well, my history with the Kubiak family initially goes back to when I was a free agent who went to Denver. Gary Kubiak was on that staff, and got to know their family really well. Gary and his wife Rhonda were tremendous to my family, helping us find schools and all those. And they're just really quality people. That's one thing I know about all the Kubiaks, but really good football coaches, really good football minds. And, I'm excited for all of them and their success. Clay's the one I work with most right now, and Clay's doing a tremendous job making us better, very creative, very hardworking, diligent, and a great person. Clint's tremendous. I'm excited for his opportunity. They made it tough, like the Lynches with our girls. We're all J's and L's. They're all K's. So there's Klein, who's doing a great job with Denver. But they're all tremendous people and have added a lot to our game.
I know you're not a couple more guys in the quarterback market, but today's this year's quarterbacks. What is your experience with Trey and Brock? Brock's experience in college and Trey's lack of it impact your thinking as you evaluate them?
Yeah, I think what I hear a lot of people, even in other sports, talking about kind of using that as a baseline for just an interesting observations that one guy played a ton of college football, one guy didn't so much, and it was during COVID when it was very tough to do evaluations. So, does that say something in every sport? I don't know, but I know that people have looked at that, taken heed. We certainly have, and you live and you learn, and just very fortunate that we got Brock, and we were so smart. We waited till the last pick just to secure the deal. Yeah.
I'm only asking about the contractual aspect, but what is the timeline with Brandon Ayuk's situation at the Niners?
Yeah, I think nothing will happen until the new league year starts, and then when it happens, kind of semantics. But that's when something, could happen there.
Is Carter ready to join the coaching staff, or does he need to finish high school first? Carter, is he?
Carter Shanahan?
Yeah.
Oh, he's still playing. Carter is doing a tremendous job. Great young man, working his tail off, and he's around our facility a lot, and we love that. And we love inviting family into our program. Our people, our staff work extremely hard, and we encourage people to have their family around, and very fortunate that a lot of them are.
John, you've had a relationship with Mike Tomlin for a really long time.
Yeah.
What can you say about his impact on you maybe as a player, and what was your kind of reaction to him stepping down?
I miss it for myself. Like, Combine is a time where we often caught up. Competition committee, I in part joined it because I knew I'd get a lot of time with Mike Tomlin, who's a dear friend. And, it's odd to say with someone who's a couple years younger than you, a tremendous influence in my life. He came to coach me in Tampa when Herm Edwards took the Jets job. I could tell he was special right away. And he challenged me to be better. I was at what I thought was the prime of my career. And the first mini camp we ever had, he handed me a old VCR and a legal pad, and it had like 86 plays of things I could do better. And it actually ticked me off at first. I'm in the prime of my career, and this guy coming out of college is going to tell me why I need to be this much better. And my wife, as she often does, said, "Have you read it? Can it make you better?" And I did just that. I listened to Linda Lynch. I started reading it, and I became a better player. And that's the way Mike's special. Our game will miss him. I don't know if it's for good. I'm thrilled for him. Saw a picture a couple weeks ago. He was at his daughter. His daughter's a tremendous gymnast at Georgia, and he was there enjoying her compete, something he hasn't been able to do. So I know he's enjoying those things. I hope he comes back to the game. Sorry, Kia, that's his wife, and because I'm sure she's enjoying having him. But he's just such a special human being and has given so much, and I'm happy that he made the decision on his terms. Yeah.
During Super
Last
Bowl
one,
week,
guys.
there were some players around the NFL who said, maybe the substation theory can impact the Niners' ability to attract free agents. There were others, including Christian McCaffrey, who said, no, I'd love to play for the Niners.
Yeah.
Do you think that could impact what your plans are, players coming to San Francisco for free agency?
I sure hope not. I don't think so. We have a tremendous place to live, to play. an iconic organization. Some of the things at Super Bowl, the very first event that I kind of went to was a Night of Champions, some Omaha Productions put on it. And man, I can't tell you, I kind of went just to support the guys that were up on stage, and it was Chris Berman moderated a thing with Joe, John Taylor, Tommy Rathman. It was Eric Wright and Ronnie Lott, Keena Turner, and Harris Barton were all there as well. And man, the privilege that you felt to be a part of this organization, that's what I think people feel when they think about the Niners. And a team they got a chance to compete at the highest level and compete for championships. That's what I think people will think about. Yeah.
When your own players express concern about it, what's your approach? Do you educate them? Do you need to bring in your own scientists and research?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, I think when you talk about, and I said this earlier, me having been a player, anything our players, especially when it comes to health and safety, which is so important, absolutely we'll look into that. Working with our team to do just that. Encouraged by some of the early things, our chief medical officer, Dr. Sills, came out and basically stated that there's no literature that speaks to that being an issue. So we'll continue to monitor that, and there's so many great things about being a Niner, and I think that will carry the day. We'll obviously always look into the concerns that our players might have. All right. Thank you, guys.